The 6 groups that are represented today. Look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can make a decision that satisfies all, right? So we're going to start in order. Now, be advised that we're going to time 8 minutes apiece so we can be fair to everyone. That'll give us a chance to reconvene as a City Commission. So what we want to do is we'll time each one for 8 minutes. Ross will take care of that. He'll be the bad guy. And go ahead and then realize that we won't have time for the question and answer, but during our regular meeting, you are on the agenda. Each area is on the agenda, so we'll have some time at that on the number 2 under new business. Okay? We're going to go ahead and get started. And roll call, please.
Sarda. Ferdig.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Knopf.
Here.
Mybum.
Here.
Miner.
Here.
Mosher.
Here.
Mayor Hoffner.
Here.
City Attorney Denherder.
Here.
We'll continue, and we notified there is a quorum presence. We're going to start with the NFAA for 8 minutes, please.
Well, I'm Nancy Winandy, Director of Public Relations for the NFAA, and because we did an extensive presentation to you already at a previous commission meeting and provided you the materials, unless you had any additional questions to me, I can allocate an additional minute to each of the other people.
Thank you, Nancy. Any questions for NFAA?
Can you go ahead and elaborate for everybody that basically talk about your organization's nonprofit status and the fact that there's 2 organizational entities actually in place too?
Yeah, actually, with the NFAA, the National Field Archery Association, we're the national headquarters for that organization, and they are located in the Easton Archery Center, which is part of the NFAA Foundation. So it is 2 entities that are actually existing out there. Both of those entities are nonprofits, which is something that is still a point of confusion within the community. A lot of times they feel because we have a big building and we do a lot of big events that we are a for-profit, which is absolutely not true. We are a nonprofit, and we exist from grant money and other allocations from entities coming in, and that's why we do a lot of community events, and we feel that we're a part of the community. Being a nonprofit, it's our part of our mission to give back as well. So does that answer the question that you had, or do you want me to elaborate even more as far as our status?
Okay. Thank you very much, Nancy. We'll have another minute for you. Thanks, Nancy. Next, we'll have Onward, please.
I'm going to take my minute having Steve pass out our handouts. Go ahead and get started. Thank you for allowing Onward Yankton to present and request funding for 2018. My name is Tabitha Lickness, President of Onward Yankton. Likely you are already familiar with the Big Idea campaign of 2015 and the selection of an entrepreneurial idea. Since then, we've created a board of directors and 3 subcommittees, the pillars, to shape the future and carry out this grassroots movement. Since the city was a significant donor towards our progress in the last 18 months, I would like to take a few minutes to cover some of our major accomplishments since our formation. We've purchased and remodeled the downtown building on 3rd Street. We've recruited the Sandbox, which is a co-working space directly from the Startup Weekend 2016, another event that we've sponsored, helping with the return of one of Yankton's very own, Molly Youngberg-Gray. We also hired Molly as a part-time downtown coordinator to work with the existing downtown pillar and downtown businesses. They have since rebranded as the Meridian District. We brought Dakota Resources to town. Their related projects have included Design South Dakota, which was focused on downtown Yankton, and Power, a community coaching effort currently bringing together Yankton's leaders, and Dakota Rising, a statewide entrepreneurial fellowship program. Often not well publicized, Onward has been customizing resources, making connections, and answering the needs of small businesses and startups, our own way of creating economic development. While we think of ourselves as a facilitator to change, we will never take credit for doing it alone. Onward is built on collaboration with other progressive entities like YPG, Montmarty College, Yankton School District, Artect, the city, the county, downtown businesses, and private individuals. Thank you for the significant funds that you provided in 2016 and 2017. Our BBB ask for 2018 has not changed from 2017. While we are asking for a total of $100,000 of city funding, we are requesting the same $50,000 from the BBB for operations, with an additional $50,000 from capital improvement funds or from the general fund for capital projects or improvements to the Meridian District, a direct result of the Design South Dakota project. In addition to requests for funding by the city, we have sought private donations and continue to work on grants that align with our objectives. The significant progress made through the Dakota Resources projects and by the downtown coordinator in the Meridian District has put us ahead of schedule for the downtown pillar. The Meridian District is setting up its own legal entity, forming a board, and has big plans for 2018 to become self-sustainable through a bid. Onward recognizes the necessity to help them fund in the interim to prevent loss of momentum. As initiatives and objectives of the other two pillars continue to develop, and as less funding is needed for the downtown pillar, additional funds will be directed to those efforts. The projects that surface through the community input of Design South Dakota are building momentum through individual and Meridian District interest and the support of the city. These projects show visible progress to the Meridian District and add to the culture in downtown, strengthening what we consider the heartbeat of Yankton. Also in 2018, Onward would like to formalize its small business and startup recruitment efforts that have been taking place over the last 2 years. We have recognized the needs of small business, often those falling through the cracks due to size or special needs. We have taken those phone calls, making those connections, and have seen positive results. While it's too early to announce some of the latest businesses we've helped bring to town, I think you'll agree that they add to the quality of life and sales tax revenue. Connections and partnerships are valuable, but we'd like to add an incentive program to further these efforts. Why Onward? Onward is unique, valuable, and an entrepreneur in its own sense. Onward is a catalyst to change driven by community input. This has been our way of doing business since the beginning. When we listened to over 500 citizens with great ideas and listened through the community project of Design South Dakota, we based our objectives on what we heard, which has really piqued the community interest and following over the last 2 years. Onward has truly connected Yankton to the entrepreneurial and small business culture outside of Yankton, especially to state and regional leaders and programs who want to help us succeed as a community. We also ensure that we don't implement change that can't be sustainable. A perfect example is the downtown pillar's creation of the Meridian District and their own desire to be self-sustaining. Quality of life is defined differently for everyone, but we have tried hard to listen to everyone. Thus, you see our focus for 2018 on the improvements to downtown, which were significant themes in several of the big ideas. We feel that culture and quality of life can be obtained through entrepreneurial efforts, and it's so exciting to see the progress thus far, all driven by community momentum, and we're just getting started. Thank you for your time today and consideration of our request.
Thank you, Tabitha. We have a couple minutes for a question. Anybody have one for Tabitha? Onward, Yankton. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Yankton Area Progressive Growth, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm Doug Eckren, Vice President with Yankton Area Progressive Growth. We also have Brian Stewart here today. Also want to thank you for the past funding and support. I think YPG and the city have had a very positive working relationship for quite some time. Our focus continues to be on what do we need to do in order to strengthen employment in this community, and what do we need to do to help our businesses be successful. In these past few years, I think we've ventured into some areas that we would not have necessarily considered before. Areas like workforce development and committing resources to the hiring of a full-time person solely dedicated to helping us meet our workforce needs in our community. We've committed $145,000 to workforce, including $40,000 for special workforce initiatives. We also recognize that it's likely we'll have to look outside of Yankton to attract enough workers that our members and the community as a whole will need. That also will require additional resources. We've also become involved with housing, something that would not have been on the radar screen too many years ago, but it was something that we needed to do in order to ensure an adequate supply of affordable housing for our workforce. And so Westbrook Estates became a reality. And that has been so successful with Phase 1 that later tonight you're going to be considering some action with Phase 2. And so my point is that our focus and our role in advancing economic development is evolving. We'll need to continue to evolve as our community and the environment changes. Recruitment, retention, and workforce development will continue to be part of our strategies, but we also need to look at quality of life issues and things that are important to attract and keep workers in Yankton. So what is going to differentiate Yankton from other choices that potential workers have? We think that our role must expand into some of those topics, and some of those topics will require financial support. One example of that is our funding of the Liberty Transportation Service in Yankton, something that you as a commission were very interested in. YPG stepped up with the seed money to make that a reality in this community. We're just completing our Yes 3 campaign, and our members, many businesses, manufacturers, individuals, government entities, have made commitments to ensure that we have a base level of funding over the next few years. And we appreciate the support of the City of Yankton in this process through your annual funding to YPG. Our annual funding support from the city has been at $212,468 since 2009. And it was raised at that time from $202,350. So during that time period, if you applied an inflation factor of 1.75%, which is not that great, we would have lost $27,533 of purchasing power with those same dollars. So it's created some challenges. So our request, as you can see in your packet, is an increase of 13% from the $212,000 that we've been at since 2009 to $240,000. The city's support is about 24% of our overall budget, with the balance supported by our members, the Yes 3 donors, and other sources. We recognize you have many requests for the dollars that you have available, and there are many organizations worthy of such consideration. We do believe that an investment in YPG will help with the ultimate growth of our employment and subsequent tax base, allowing for additional dollars to reinvest in the community in future periods. So thank you for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We have a few minutes left. Any questions for YPG? All right, thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Next we'll have CVB, please.
Good evening. My name is Casey Haberman. I am the CVB Director, Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Yankton. And I just wanted to thank Mayor Hoffner and the Commission for affording me the opportunity to present the reasoning behind the additional ask from the CVB this year on behalf of the tourism industry in the Yankton area. In my formal budget request submitted back in April, you should have received a narrative that outlined the purposes and intent of the additional approximately 17,000 that we had requested. But I thought I would just run through a couple of the highlights for you. as well as provide you with a few statistics on where the costs of some of the traditional advertising mediums have gone over the past 10 years. In 2017, the Yankton CVB entered into a partnership with the Lewis and Clark Recreation Area in an effort to deploy a competitive marketing campaign when compared to our peers across the state of South Dakota. Through the Community Co-op program and Lewis and Clark Recreation's partnership with the CVB, our $20,000 investment increased to an impressive $80,000 media buy. This partnership provided numerous resources and tactics that alone we would not be able to obtain. So I'll just provide a couple of them for you. They include utilizing the South Dakota Department of Tourism's My Great Place campaign. And we were able to retain Lawrence and Schiller, which is an award-winning advertising agency, acclaimed for their destination marketing strategies and also utilized by the State Department of Tourism. LNS provides us with creative design assistance and copywriting. They also provide strategic analysis of various advertising opportunities, including print, out-of-home, digital, as well as PR opportunities. They provide us with numerous digital tactics, and I won't go through all of them, but a few of them include the responsive full-screen display ads, digital retargeting ads, Facebook and remarketing ads, search engine marketing, and native content. The new relationship with Lawrence and Schiller also afforded us a unique opportunity to upgrade and expand our online presence with a brand new website. We're leaning on their expertise within the destination marketing realm, and we're extremely excited about the impact and the vitally important digital tool and the impact that it'll have. As you know, in 2017, we've deployed many tactics within the co-op to promote Yankton as a tourism destination. Therefore, I urge you to consider 2017 as a benchmark year and know that it is crucially important that we continue to move forward with the program set in place to determine the true impact of these efforts and the ROI. We are very grateful for the City of Yankton for their continued investment in the CVB, and we're also grateful for the partnership with Lewis and Clark Rec Area. However, our concern is that we cannot count on the partnership to stay intact forever. We also know that a healthy mix of digital marketing elements is the key to have a successful advertising campaign, and that there are a few must-have elements for destination marketing. Therefore, the additional $17,000 would be earmarked for the following three strategies: search engine marketing, Facebook ads, which would include a mix of different types with varying calls of action based on our strategic goals for next year, display and native ads, which would consist of both video and native content. Next, I would call attention to the slides that we have up there. I wanted to present you with some information on the evolution of some advertising dollars with a few of the traditional tactics over the past 10 years. So, I mean, as you can see, television costs have gone up nearly 20%, and you can read all of that. But one of the main things, or one of the important things, is social media really went from its infancy to now basically being all paid advertising. So that's a very important point. And you really have to spend quite a bit on digital to get really engaging, rich media in order to be noticed online. So you can go to the next slide, and that's just in the Omaha market. So this isn't, all of our key markets, but it just provides you an overview of, where we were in 2007 versus where we are now on a $10,000 television investment. We don't do a lot of television, but it's just to kind of show you the trend over the last 10 years. And then if you go to the next, it's a little bit more shocking as far as newspaper, but there you can kind of see this, a similar trend. If you can read into this information a number of different ways, but the fact is that advertising costs have increased regardless of the medium, and the bottom line is that we need additional funding to stay competitive. The CVB appreciates the $5,000 increase in last year's budget, but we have taken those dollars and leveraged them with creative partnerships across the private sector. We would like to continue to do so with increased dollars. I think it's also very important to point out that with the agriculture sector continuing to struggle, as well as the significant retail loss that Yankton has been experiencing the past several years, Tourism can and should be considered a bright spot and full of opportunity for the Yankton area. I urge you to consider the money spent on the CVB as an investment with a tangible return as stated in the 2017 South Dakota Department of Tourism annual report that tells us every $1 invested in the South Dakota ad campaign generated $51 in visitor spending and $4 in tax revenue for the benefit of South Dakota residents. It should also be taken into account that Yankton County brings in approximately $194 million in tourism-related revenue. Approximately 72% of that is coming from visitors outside of the market area. This is new money injected into our community that provides a tremendous economic boost for our residents and business owners. In 2016, tourism supported approximately 784 local jobs and generated over $3.3 million in state and local tax revenue. Lastly, I would like to make sure that you all are aware that City Manager Nelson and I have been meeting on a monthly basis, and we've been working on the MOU that has recently expired. At this point, to my knowledge, the Chamber Board of Directors and City Manager Nelson are comfortable and in agreement with the structure of the MOU. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that there's been progress behind the scenes being made on that. But I want to thank you very much for your time, and I'm hopeful that you understand the need for the additional funding for the CVB. I also have copies of the CVB, the budget narrative, as well as I have copies of the Lawrence and Schiller marketing strategy if any of you would like to see any of that information. So thank you.
Thank you, Casey. We'll now have Riverboat Days, please.
Good evening. My name is John Kraft, and I am co-chairman of the Riverboat Days Committee along with Randy Oliver. And we've also got Bob Berkland here, who is a board member along with us. I'd like to thank you for letting us stop by tonight and chat with you about our event and answer any questions that you might have as well. Our all-volunteer board works year-round to ensure that each August the citizens of Yankton and the surrounding region can enjoy a family-oriented event featuring a parade, arts and crafts, music, food, dance, fireworks, children's entertainment, as well as countless other opportunities to have fun for little to no cost. We partner with the Yankton Area Arts Association to bring this event to life each year and look forward to a great weekend this August when we will be celebrating our 34th year. We enjoyed tremendous support from the city staff and all the city departments, and our event also relies heavily on our community members who volunteer their time and businesses who help sponsor our event. Without this commitment and this effort, Riverboat Days would not be possible. Riverboat Days and the Summer Arts Festival is Yankton's premier event. It offers us the opportunity to showcase our city, our lake area, county, and our region to countless visitors from across the region and country. Reunions are common during the weekend as people reconnect with friends and family and get together before kids head back to school and fall sets in. Not only does Riverboat Days provide a reason to gather and celebrate, the weekend is an economic boon to the businesses of Yankton. The event pumps money into hotels, campgrounds, restaurants, bars, convenience stores, and countless other businesses across town will tell you that Riverboat Days weekend is one, if not the best weekends they have all year. Businesses are not the only beneficiaries of our weekend. Numerous nonprofits and local organizations receive donations from us in return for their help during our weekend. The last several years, we've donated tens of thousands of dollars to these groups, and we intend to continue donating into the future. Some of the groups that have received donations include Battery B of the 147th Field Artillery, the Boy Scouts, the Yankton Area Ice Association, Keep Yankton Beautiful, Yankton Area Transit, and Mount Marty College. We are in our 34th year with no signs of slowing or stopping. This brings us to our request. We're asking the Commission to support us by using funds from the Triple B Fund. This fund is derived from tourist spending, hotel rooms, restaurants, bars, etc. We feel it makes perfect sense to reinvest some of those dollars into perpetuating Riverboat Days, an event which results not only in one of the biggest tourism weekends of the year for Yankton, but one of the biggest injections of funds into that fund every year. Riverboat Days does have some years under its belt, so we're at a point where we need to reinvest in our festival in order to ensure its success into the future. We have several tents and other equipment which need to be replaced. Lighting and electrical services which were lost during the baseball field lighting project will need to be replaced. And we have several additional electrical needs to manage the food vendor area and other areas of the park. We're continuing to invest in Riverside Park, electrical, water, kind of some of those infrastructure things every year. We try and make some improvements there. We'd also like to bring on additional rides for the children's area. We'd like to expand the music offerings and would like to continue to bring unique entertainment acts like the BMX bikers and the trampoline folks from last year. All these things help to make Riverboat Days bigger and better every year. A commitment from the city to earmark BBB funds each year for Riverboat Days will allow us to effectively plan for the future. With support, Riverboat Days has many great years ahead of it. We only need to look to our neighbors to the west, who have just held their 69th annual Check Days. It shows you what a community can do if they collectively support their city's signature event. And we feel that Riverboat Days is our signature event. Thank you for your time and consideration and your donation to us last year. And I'm sure I have quite a bit of time left, so if you have any questions, I'd be willing to answer.
We have a few minutes left. Any questions for Riverboat Days? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We'll have Yankton Transit, please.
Good afternoon, or good evening now, I guess. My name is Tony Erickson. I'm the chair for the Yankton Transit Board, and I've been the chair of the Yankton Transit Board since 2000, the year I moved to Yankton. And also with me is Ron Baumgart, who's the manager, executive director for River Cities Public Transit out of Pier, who also is our management company here in Yankton. So on Friday, hopefully over the weekend, you got the presentation. It looks like it's up there anyway. There we go. I'm not really going to cover, hopefully you had a chance to review it. I'm not going to cover a lot of it. I just wanted to get the information out to you. Really, if you look at what transit is and what comprised transit, really started the makeup of all the nonprofit agencies in the Yankton area essentially came together and formed Yankton Transit. So if you look at it, you've got all the nonprofit agencies forming it, but it really is public transportation for Yankton. If you look at what the purpose is, what it serves, you look at ridership, it's really trying to provide the most cost economical vehicle for residents that are really, if you look at ridership-wise, is residents that 60% of the transit is devoted to disabled transportation, so it'd be ability building services, individuals with mental health issues, and also the elderly in Yankton. The other 27% of the bigger funding is actually transportation for kids to and from school safely. So then the rest of the 13% is tied into just generalized transportation needs in Yankton. You know, so I guess the thing that we have is looking at from a funding. If you look at our funding from transit has basically remained stagnant since pretty much the 17 years I've been on here. Actually was reduced over that time, actually increased back up, and now we're getting funded at the same levels. Our request is, if you look at it, the cost of operations have significantly increased during that period of time, as well as the issue that you have is federal dollars are getting tighter and tighter, and also with the state dollars, we haven't really seen an increase in state dollars. If you look at that shift in where government is going and shifting it from federal to state, and state shifting it to the city, you know, from that perspective. So, you know, those are the issues that you deal with. And for us to maintain it, we've got to look at, you've got a lot of vehicles that you have out there that are aging and probably beyond the useful time that you need to replace. And if you look at who owns Yankton Transit, really the city of Yankton, along with the commission of the city commission, actually own Yankton Transit. The building itself is actually leased to Yankton Transit, is actually owned by the city of Yankton. We lease it for $1. There's a partnership there. There are some things that we get from snow removal and stuff like that that are addition to beyond the funding that we get from you. But then the thing that you have with it is just where's it go? Where's the need go? How do you do it from that perspective? Because your costs continue to increase from there. So we think that in the end, if the nonprofit, and I'm not trying to force it, but if you look at what we've seen, the things that we've done to try and look at advertising increasing, trying to get additional foundation development, because it is, as a nonprofit, you can put funding to it to provide rides. You know, when we're actually looking and forward to Liberty, with Liberty Mobility coming in, how can we partner with them to ensure that we continue to provide transportation needs to meet the needs of the Yankton community? You know, we are looking at trying to look at the county, but I think you all know the county issues too. But we do provide some ridership outside of the Yankton, which is not something that we've done. It's probably been in the last 3 years? Last 3 years, I've actually started going out into like the Riverside Acres area, providing transportation for kids. And I think if you think about it, if you look at safety of kids and what would be lost productivity of the businesses in Yankton if, when you look at 2 working families getting kids safely to school, and how much lost productivity could you potentially have if you have to be there at 7 and I got my kid's school doesn't start till 8:20. How did they get to school? And what are they doing over that last hour and 20 minutes from there? So with that said, Ronna, you have anything to add?
Got any minutes left?
Yep, we have 4 minutes.
I am Ron Baumgarten. I'm Executive Director of River Cities Public Transit and Pier, and we do operate several other transits in the state. They have a project in Sioux Falls, operate one transit on an Indian reservation, and several throughout Central. And the one thing that I told Tony when they hired us to operate Yankton is, I can't go in front of your city commission and ask for money because I have no credibility in a town I don't live in and don't vote in and stuff. And well, here I am today. But so I guess what I do want to tell you is we've really enjoyed being part of Yankton and working with the great employees we have down there. And I know Riverboat Days mentioned we've worked with them and do those kinds of things as much as we can. Legally, there's some guidelines and things federally that we can and can't do moving people. But I guess I come to you because I think I can. We do have quite a vested interest in Yankton Transit. They've been struggling some, and as you know, it was probably the best thing years ago. Governor Janko decided all transit needed new vehicles, so we got all new 2003 vehicles, and guess what? We still got a pretty good fleet of them, and so now all of a sudden they all need to be replaced. We've been fortunate to replace a couple 3M and one just lately. The last one, actually Yankton didn't have the match for it, and because it got used up in repairs, so we covered that for you. We cut our contract in half from what we agreed to at the beginning because we care about Yankton Transit and the people we provide. So I guess I'm certainly open for more questions, but we believe in the system. We're very excited because we can only offer service Monday through Friday. To have Liberty coming in and hopefully we partner, we can give more freedom and things to the folks here in Yankton community, but certainly we feel we have a big part of it. You know, we have, subsidized costs to help the folks that are getting to work and to doctor's appointments and things that aren't going to be, quite as affordable through Liberty, but it's certainly going to open up. And I've met with the local manager here and we want to work together, but we certainly could use those increased funds that we've requested. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I guess we have a little time for some questions. Everybody quit early. So if any questions at all on any of the 6 agencies?
I had a question for the Yankton Transit. The slide showed a $200,000 federal match with a 40% or 20% local funds. Then you get a $200,000.
Well, that's right now what you have out there is if you could spend $200,000 unless we have the local match dollars, you can't go on attack the $200,000. So if you had the match dollars to say replace vehicles, then you get the pull down money from the Fed side. Is that the way I understand it, Ron?
We do have, I've written enough grants that there's about $200,000 for some improvements in vehicles. Some of it is software updates and just other technology. We have furnished all new technology to the buses down here and guidance and stuff through a peer grant just to get everybody up to speed. But yeah, that money's there. And so if you invest $1, you get another $4 and it's already been approved. I mean, there's some, some things that we certainly just you know, like I said, we thought we had enough money to get this last bus, and by the time repairs and a few things ate that up, when the bus showed up, the money was no longer there, and so we made sure that Yankton still got that, and we're gonna just move on. But that's why I say I think I can stand here and ask for a little help, because I do have a vested interest in Yankton Transit.
And then
Hopefully
when,
my board and peer isn't listening to this. No, I'm just kidding.
the $200,000 that's out there, how long is that? Is there a deadline? Does that end at this
Other
year?
than operating money, so we've got about 2 years to, you know, to use it, or they're gonna ask why we're not using it, and if we admit that we don't have the match, they'll probably reallocate it or turn it back.
Any more questions on any of the 6? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn this special work session. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.